Hi sweet people, welcome to the final video in this series, in which I redraw the Winx Club's basic and Charmix forms to fit my own AU and imagination. We have finally made it to Techna after a lot of design false starts. I honestly enjoyed drawing them so much, and in this case the wealth of my ideas was actually working against me than in my favour. You'll see what I mean. I am still a bit afraid that I went overboard, a bit too maximalist with this one, but I also think it has a good fit with Techna's character. They are pragmatic, yes, but also a high achiever, with incredibly high standards for themselves, and would absolutely go all out designing their transformation into the smallest detail. Let's get into Techna's backstory while I am sketching over the first of many sketches I had before I started this project. As you may have noticed, in my headcanon Techna uses they/them pronouns, and is identifying as agender after some soul searching done during the seasons. I was torn initially because the concept of butch girl Techna also means a lot to my heart, and what it would mean in regards to fey magic and expressions of femininity that we see so strongly tied to it. But alas, anyway, after coming to Alfea and meeting all these highly femme girls in their friendship group, Techna starts questioning their belonging with them, and with fey magic as a whole. They try to fit in at first, but it never clicks, and actually pushing back against the norm and dressing more and behaving more masculinely garners them more praise and support from their friends than the opposite. Over time, pondering their expressions of gender leads to them questioning their gender itself, and they settle on identifying as agender. Techna still ends up with Timmy, who is more non-binary leaning in this iteration, making them a wholly queer couple. But how did Techna end up at Alfea in the first place? Techna hails from Zenith, an incredibly technologically advanced planet, so filled with cities you can't even demarcate the borders of its countries anymore. But you really should, because they're very different and don't all like each other. Techna's home is called Transjordan and is inspired by, well, I guess it, Jordan and the Gaza region. Despite the hot climate in my inspiration, this is still an incredibly cold planet with an artificially cold climate to ensure the optimal working conditions of all their machines and industry. The planet was actually facing a climate crisis due to all its industrialization before they developed a method to cool down the planet to a comfy average of minus 23 degrees Celsius. Being so reliant on technology in their everyday life and industry, Transjordan and Zenith as a large don't put much stock into magic. They don't even recruit guardian fairies to their planet's protection. They think everything can be solved by technology alone. Techna, however, picked up an early and very strong interest in magic, and was incredibly neurodivergent about it. Techna's older sister actually suspected they had magic talents way earlier than their parents, but Techna, having been very introverted and seldomly verbal at that age, didn't give signs of their experiences until they could communicate with the machines in their household semi-fluently at around 6 years of age. So when Techna started primary school, they also took up after-school classes in basic magic education. They went on swimmingly in that, performing better at magic prep school than in school proper. Transjordan, however, is a very small country. After they outgrew the base level in middle school, their only option was private tutoring from professional magic user one-on-one, which Techna didn't do well with. They just needed that rigid structure that school could give them. Techna's parents then turned to other neighbouring countries and were able to find an appropriate prep school, to which they were taking Techna almost daily. However, things didn't last long like that. The strain of the drive every day and the tensions between their countries making border crossing more and more tedious made the situation unsustainable. A teacher at the school then pitched the idea of a specialised secondary school to Techna. They began looking into their options and settled on fey magic, more specifically Alfea in a go big or go home manner. There were boarding schools closer to Zenith on some of their moons, but Techna really wanted the best of the best, even at that age. With their parents giving them a starting push and local scholarships cushioning the rest, Techna is actually one of the few students admitted to Alfea on merit alone, with no influential connections backing them up. At first, Techna didn't really find a connection to the other Winx girls, preferring to hang out in study groups with other high-achieving students. But that's not the environment they needed. Techna is plenty serious on their own. They needed fun people around, who would take them out of their comfortable hermit's corner sometimes. And what is the Winx Club if not fun and full of shenanigans? I think sometime after their first brushes with the tricks and the annual gala, but before it was revealed that Bloom isn't Veranda actually, they would slowly find their place in a group and hang out with Musa, obviously, the most. Now onto the design. I don't know why, but purple is just giving me such a hard time. I was not really finding the right shades in the first design that I drew. That was a huge false start in this. I liked the shapes in that one, I liked the bodysuit, I liked the little bolero, but I wanted it to go bigger. I had a previous design from way earlier where she was wearing essentially like a ski parka, and I think that would fit her idea of what is good clothing on an extremely cold planet very well. In their final design, this assumption still holds true. It's like a web page loading line by line. At the top they start off with all their assumptions, the head cover, the parka, then realize, oh, it's not that cold, I can dress lighter. Then, oh, I don't have to dress that modest either. Then, I can dress actually fun and express myself. I think a lot about Techna's story and personal growth being about them realizing the limits of the comfort their rigidity gives them, and when it is necessary to step out of their ordered zone and evolve and adapt. I think an autistic reading fits Techna very well, and I don't mean to suggest they fix or outgrow that. But there's certainly an element of them becoming more empathetic and realizing that they can trust and rely on their environment and friends more. With this arc in mind, I think the culmination of their Enchantix journey, Techna sacrificing themselves for essentially half the universe at the Omega Portal, is more impactful and carries a meaning throughout the whole series. That is never about the individual, it's always about everyone and the needs of the many, especially with Fey magic. It's just how it works. You do the good thing. And the reward is that this good thing then fuels their magic. I would also love to see Techna's relationship explored with other members of the Winx Club that they don't really get paired up with often in canon, like Stella and Bloom, because I think they have a lot to give each other. I see Stella as a quick to anger and quick to forgive individual, whereas Techna and Bloom I think definitely more grudge holding people. And I think making Techna inherently a little bit distrustful and petty and grudge holding adds to the whole characterization of them having an issue with this rigidity and wanting to outgrow it, becoming more empathetic, more forgiving. And that's why basically the Winx Club is the perfect friendship group. They have so much to give each other and so many stories to tell and for us to enjoy. And here is the final result. I went back and changed the wings another time just to make the neon perfect. I really enjoyed working on Techna, and while this is obviously the very last part in this series, I am interested in bringing the specialists and the tricks to you as well. So please let me know below which one you'd rather have first. And with that, I thank you all for watching and see you another time.